Welcome back to the Silo Podcast. I'm Austin. Today we're going to be discussing spring capture. So I had this idea of what would it look like for me to walk through some of the processes that take place to bring out these captures and make this happen. And today is a day before spring capture. So I asked you guys, what are some before the capture questions that you have for me relating to the process, how I feel leading up to them. And then we're gonna also do a second part of this where it's after. How do I feel? What are my takeaways? Did I feel like things went smoothly? What are some actual raw mistakes that I made as a person and how we can improve? So welcome to this series where we talk about spring capture. Thought this would be fun to start off this season of the Silo Podcast. So here we are. Let's get into it. Haley asked, how do you decide what location for captures versus other locations? I find it interesting because I had this conversation the other day with someone and they thought that we did a ton of networking. And while I would say that there's a lot of networking on the front end, as we started to grow and stuff, there was a lot of opportunities that just came out of being a cheerleader for other people. And you've heard it so much from us, but just engaging on social media with people that you are interested in and that you find that you just want to sow into their vision. We just very early on, stuck out with some of these people like Source, like New York Wireworks, like Emmeline, some vintage stores around York and Lancaster that just really wanted to be heard and seen and currently weren't. So we used just some real intentionality, build connections with them. I wouldn't even say we bought them lunch and made sure that we were a good fit. It was just it was so natural, brought people together. And from that, connections grew. So we met with Emile. We met her at one of Older and Wiser's events and met with her in the past, toured her studio just because we were interested in what she's working on and the people that surround her. And just fall of 22, when we had fall capture there, we just continue to grow that connection and see benefits from us bringing creatives into spaces that didn't have creatives before. So it's just really cool that we've been able to build relationships where other people would have to pay for these locations and stuff like that. And you still do have to pay for a lot of the locations that we go to. It's just really cool that through relationships, the currency almost turns into just being there for each other. And I think that's super cool. And I've learned a lot from Gavin on how he's really been a champion of relationships in my life and how I've grown because of that. So a lot of it, to answer your question, is we just work with people that care about us too. Like I said, very early on, it was a more two-way street, but now we have businesses and locations that want creatives in their spaces, but don't have those connections to fill the needs that they have. So we are blessed to be able to help mitigate that and bring those two goals closer together. And I couldn't be more thankful. So this was a no-brainer for Source and us to go back at it again. The space is perfect. For spring capture, I think about, we're going to need an indoor space because that's just how it's either going to be cold or rainy. And guess what? It's supposed to rain tomorrow. So that's something we'll get into later, I'm sure. And yeah, so you need an indoor location. You need to hold enough people so that they're comfortable and it's not going to be super hot, or you are going to be able to have enough shoots so people aren't just sitting around. So for winters, it needs to be an all indoor event, which is why it's kind of hard sometimes. And then I would say for spring, I try to do a hybrid. That's why Source works really well, because it's not just an indoor space. Similar to what we did for Lancaster City in 22, we had an indoor space at Inspire Business Community, and then we're able to go out into Lancaster City and have a great time. It's a perfect blueprint for a good time. We can have a home base as well, where those who do more studio work are able to do more studio work, and those who are more natural light portrait kind of people can do that as well. Source, perfect spot for that. Can't hype them up enough. Emile, Landon, Stephanie, best humans on earth. Can't believe what they're doing, and we're so jealous of their space. That's why we keep coming back, because they're amazing. Haley also asks, anywhere you want to hold one that you haven't yet? And that's a good question, because our next one is somewhere that I've been wanting to go. And I'm so pumped. And I think this episode will come out in time for the next capture. And it's just going to be amazing. I'll give you a hint for those podcast listeners out there. You're getting the inside scoop. I'm already literally, this is Friday before the capture. On Monday, I'm going to meet with the owner of this place, and we're going to go on a photo walk and just walk around ourselves and just get to know the area that we're going to a little bit more. So I'm super excited because this is a spot I've never been to before. And I'm just really excited to be in a different environment. So often we've been in New York and Lancaster, and we're going to expand, and that's super cool. I'm really looking forward for this new opportunity. I think we're going to reach an currently untapped group of people, location. It's going to be great. Podcast listeners, you got the inside scoop there. We're going to go to Gettysburg. So that's really exciting. I think also, I'm going to be honest with you guys too, because this is a podcast that I want to get nitty gritty with, is that we're going to try to do 2 summer ones. So this next one will be a summer capture. We're also going to have more of a normal summer capture, probably later July if everything plans out. But this next one will be an earlier summer one, which I'm pumped about, because hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler out and we're not dying of heat as we have in the past. But those are like the best part about summer captures. It's the most attended. Some people are way out of school and have more off time in work. We do hit the occasional I'm on vacation people, so it stinks in that regards. But in regards to like attendance, you're going to see probably a pretty decent dip for this one. And then the summer kicks off and we get that like 95 attendance that we're hoping for. I want to hit 100 this year, guys. Help me get to 100 attendees this summer. I would be so pumped and grateful for that. Matthew asks, who are you most excited to see? Man, that's a loaded question. And how am I supposed to answer that? I would say everyone. I think I've slowly gotten over the fear of captures as an introvert. You probably don't even like think that I'm an introvert, but like I am a mega introvert. So these last 2 days, Thursday and today, I have just taken to completely be by myself. I just need to be alone. I need to fully charge. Like if I'm even at 90% like social battery, I need to be at 100 for these, because it does take a lot out of me to be that social for that long, but it's so rewarding and so fulfilling that it makes it all worth it. There's nothing I would do differently for captures than to just invite all the people, all of my friends. It's been really cool, actually. So to start off, Silo, like we had some of my friends come, like personal friends, but now as the captures and Silo have gone on, you're going to hear it so many times, but like a lot of you guys have become actual friends of mine that we stay in touch weekly, daily. And that's so cool. So now captures are more of like a reunion for me rather than a scary, I don't know like 90% of the people. I know a good 60%, and those 40% are actually new people. And does that ever excite me that like now I have a friend group that kind of will go to the event with me, if you will. And then I get to meet new friends and invite them into my friend group as we continue to grow. And this community of photographers, models, creatives, entrepreneurs, any kind of hand art, like it just keeps growing. And it never ceases to amaze me too, the variety of people. Like we offer like these captures for anyone, and the amount of people that come from different backgrounds and just all different kinds of walks of life stories even. I'm super excited. Someone's flying in from Colorado and they're going to visit us at the capture. I am just so excited to see the people that are so dedicated to themselves that they are willing to dedicate their time to other people. And I think that's something that you don't see as often anymore. You don't see those people that are so courageous to get outside their comfort zone. And that's the kind of environment that I want to continue to foster in these captures, is that one, it takes courage to show up. That's just, it takes courage for me to show up for these things. And I'm the guy that tries to run it all. And I think just letting go of like any concerns that I have, or, you know, expectations. I think it's one of the biggest things you got to let go of as a, I hate the word leader or content creator or influencer. I am none of those things, but you have to let expectations of what you want to see or what you're expecting to see go. And, you know, I know we can't one up ourselves. This year is about pacing. We're not going to one up ourselves. We're not going for the new PR every time. We're going for sustainability. We're going for pace. We're going for, can we keep this number in the long term? And we're going to have peaks and we're going to have valleys. And I know that each event, because there's only, you know, 4 or 5 large capture level events that we have each year, some, like, you know, 3 out of the 5 can be terrible. 2 can be awesome, and it levels out for it to be great. And so for me, letting go of expectations, I think an expectation for this one for me was like, I know at Capture 22, Fall Capture 22, where we are at Source again, I think we had 40 to 60 people. I don't know if I had a real number on that one, in and out. And I think people think that, you know, whatever group photo we take or like a panning video of the thing shows the number of people, and it really doesn't. Like, I know we have a good photo from Michael Fall 22, and it showed 20, 25 people. And that photo lives on so much in my heart, and I use it for a lot of like advertising because it's one of the only group photos we have. So a goal for me tomorrow is to take a group photo. But I'm just so excited to not care about the numbers. And that's something that I've struggled with as like the strategist of Silo, is to like put away what I think matters, what the world thinks matters, and worry about the beating hearts in every single person that shows up and making sure that they feel seen. I think something that I've done in the past where I'm still working at personally is when someone new comes, I want to walk up to them, shake their hand, say, welcome. Hey, like, I'm a person that you can talk to no matter what. If you feel uncomfortable, come see me. If you look a little lost, I want to be able to come up to you and put in that extroverted work to show up for the community. And that's not something that I can say I've done 100% of the time at Captures before. And that's just personal growth that I'm working towards, which I'm really excited about as we continue to do the Silo thing that we call life and community, because it's not easy. But my favorite part has to be the people, has to be the messages of not life change, but like just career change. Like people have been able to get signed as models. People have been able to update their portfolio because of these captures, and they've gotten jobs and gigs and have continued to build relationships with people at these captures. And it's just like, bro, go on. You know, that's what I always say in comments, but like, that's the only words I have. I'm not a word person, but come on, like, just, you're doing it. You're doing the thing. And when people are empowered and are able to fully embrace that, like, yo, I'm doing this thing because I need to and I want to, and it fulfills me as like a person, it fills my cup, and makes me want to do more. That's like the thing that fires me up the most. And I want to continue to see people like doing that. And if that's, you know, Gavin taught me a lot of like, dude, just if someone's looking for a photographer, let's like bring 2 people together. And that's the coolest part about the captures. So maybe I'm going on a rant at this point. Let's add some more structure into this mix, go back to these questions. So Matthew asked, who are you most excited to see? Everyone. Let's see. What role other than coordinating will you be playing? Matthew asked that question as well. And I've been really blessed and thankful that I have a friend, Michaela, who will be taking on some of like the more like day of coordinating. So like weddings have like, you can have a wedding coordinator that like brings you through the entire like pre-wedding process and gets you to like day of. Well, I wanted to help Michaela like just use her gifts and talents that she's already been amazing at, helping Helen with some of her like the ship and other shoots like that. And she's been so amazing at like day of coordinating and like having all the details at hand. You know, it's all in a paper, like right in front of her, and she is steering the ship where it needs to go based on the plans that have been laid out. So Michaela is going to be our day of coordinator. She's going to be amazing. I cannot wait to see how she just takes charge and does what she does best and just steers the ship. Like, I can't do all of that work. A lot of people do end up wanting to talk, or if this is their first time, they will want to make sure that they get connected with us, get connected with other people. So I'm the face of dispersing the people. I'll probably have a few words at the very start just to get us, you know, oriented to the space and the location and stuff like that. But like what I'm playing is just, I'm there. All my hard work hopefully is done at the beginning so that I can focus on the people day of. I love behind the scenes stuff. So you'll probably see me doing some behind the scenes work, getting some photos, some videos, posting stuff on the stories. But I think there's going to be a weight lifted off my shoulders when Michaela is able to take some of the more nitty gritty details, that timing, you know, hey, at 5 p.m. we're going to start shotgun people out into the world and stuff like that. And I'm excited to hand that off to her because she's super passionate about that. That's not something that I love doing. It's always been, I have to do. So now that she's involved and willing to be passionate about that, I'm able to do more of what I want to do, which is definitely just still be a fly on the wall when I can be. And that's like where BTS comes in, but then also be that person of contact for anyone that's new, building relationships, catching up with people that have come to past captures. So I am both the like promoter, I would say, you know, making sure that what we're doing is out there into the world, which is difficult. And any marketing for this event that we've done up to this point has been a lot. And it's this weird, like, I announced it as early as I possibly could. And actually the earliest I've probably ever done for any capture. And I've sprinkled in, it was 2 months ago or something like that, like February. And I just feel like in that time frame, I've been able to do a lot of sprinkled in posts, but I feel like I'm not doing enough. And that's always, you know, what social media is. Am I doing enough? Do I feel like I've hit the most amount of people? You know, every post only hits 10% of your followers. So what do you do if you have to hit 100%? It takes a lot out of you. So I feel like I didn't do a lot. And then I had promised myself that week of, which was this past 5 or 6 days, that I would post daily, trying to make sure that the momentum was there, even though in my thought process, people have already made their decisions by week of. So I'm not changing a lot of minds when it comes to if they're coming or not to captures, but to make sure that the word is there, that the people that did try to commit like a month ago still come back around and say, oh yeah, that's in my calendar, I'm doing that Saturday. So like a promotional strategy for that can be difficult. And so I think I've done it well, where yeah, it's been interesting. I feel like I'll never do the best unless I fully have a planned out content schedule, but it's so hard when you're not full-time doing the thing that you love to be able to put in the time, especially with just the new year coming around and stuff like that. I'm not going to burden anyone with excuses. But yeah, the strategy behind it is making sure that you put it so far out in advance that people can mark it on their calendars and that date's still free, but then also that you keep up promoting it. It's one of those things that I feel like I see a lot of people do wrong with like events and stuff like that. So I'm trying to learn from that. And like they post a graphic once, think that everyone reads that and it puts it in their calendar. But I like to do where it is one post that has all the information in it, and everything that I do points right back. Like no matter where you go, whatever story you're listening to, like it'll always be like the pinned post. You'll see it right there. Our list of events that we have coming up are in our pinned posts. Everything points to that. And I post about it multiple times. So that keeps people aware of it. It can get annoying. I hate seeing, so many different ads for one thing that I'm already like, yes, I'm going to it. Geez. But I think it's worth it in terms of just keeping it in their heads. And I'm sure traditional marketing will tell you the same thing, that you're just going to have to remind people and you're going to have to put it back in their heads that it's happening. So while I don't think week of, scrambling to put posts out, which I'll be honest, that's what I definitely did for a lot of them. And that's shown in like the week captions that I have for it. But I made a promise to myself I wanted to keep it. So that's why you'll see week of full slate of posts leading up to it. I think I'm coming off really strong with these last few that lead up to it. I think I'm doing my best job to inform people what's coming up. So yeah. All right. So here's another one from Matthew, actually. If you had no responsibilities, what would you do spending your time at CAP? And I would say I would also still just be shooting around. I've never been one to, as a photographer, be the one that leads a shoot. I've never been that kind of person that felt like they had all the poses together, and I feel like no one does. But some are a lot stronger than I am, and I fully will lean into the fact that they can pose a model way better than I ever could. So what I like to do is kind of like shadow in the background. I'm always there getting behind the scenes for people. I love serving people with behind the scenes of themselves. Photographers never have photos of themselves. So I like being that person for those at CAP. Also, those make great like behind the scenes stuff for Silo themselves. So it's been super nice in that regard. But if I do have time and like I've talked to the people that wanted to talk to me or talk to the people that I needed to, and my job is kind of quote unquote done, I totally do hop on. And like, if I see a shot that I really want with a model, I'll be like, guys, I need to get in here really quick. Please. And so I'll get the shot real quick for my own personal portfolio, and I'll dip out and let the shoot go on. So I'll try to be a little bit selfish. I feel like that's something that, not that I need to focus on, but something that like I need to do more of, and just be willing to take that for myself sometimes. And so I've been doing that at captures. You'll see me head in and just be like, yo, I'm getting the shot real quick. Peace out. Thanks, guys. And so my main role would just be to like, if I didn't have to do any of like the media coverage for Silo, I would just sit back and watch these people work. And I would probably still take photos because it's just what I love. But yeah, I definitely would try to be even more present than I currently am. And I feel like I am very present with talking to people, and just, I do have to take in stuff very slowly. I'm a slow processor. So all of this emotion that like from the capture happens, and people are just like so thankful or like say bye and like say some kind words. Like it doesn't hit me until like the drive home, or like me and Gavin like sit in the car or debrief the week after, and we get so emotional, just like how many people change because of what happens, and how little me and Gavin want to, try to be rigid about. And I think that's what allows that freedom of everything is that it's all there for you. Just do what feels right for you. And I just can't thank people enough for saying kind things, but it's like, I keep telling people, I'm like, this is all you. I've simply like laid the foundation for you, but you have done the hard work of showing up. You've done the hard work of getting the photos that you need and coming out here and directing models and fully embracing that you are creative. Like, you've done the hard work there. I have simply brought people together, and me and Gavin take no credit for that. We are simply, if we didn't have to be the faces, and you've heard from the podcast before, if we didn't have to be have a face to this, to like be relevant and every brand needs like some kind of like mascot or face so that someone can attach to it and have like a personality behind the like account or brand itself. Like if we didn't have to do that, it would be a faceless account. Like if that wasn't what was meta or the strategy behind it, we don't want to be known as like the silo people. We want the people to be the silo people. We want to be like a traditional word, I guess, is like, we want to be like the employees of the company are owners of the company. So the community members are the people that are running Silo and that are keeping it alive because they come out to these events that help others. And they are also wanting to maybe even plan the events. And right now in the Discord, we're having a talk about having some of the local musicians that are part of our community like run their own event, and we'll like sponsor it and bring it all together. So I think it's super cool. And I want people to buy into the fact that I don't want to spoon feed, but people are going to be able to start doing their own things and us supporting them where they need the most help. So super cool. Yet again, Austin goes on a tangent about nothing related to that question. All right, final question here. Jake asks, what does your final process look like for planning capture events? And so I think it pretty like, this probably should have been at the beginning, but I'm going to keep it as raw as possible and leave it at the end. But a lot of it is really just, hey, this company reached out, let's do something there. You know, you get like 6 or 7 of those and you say, for summer, we need to be outside. So like, we don't need a space, but blah, blah, blah. And we need to make sure that these brands that we talk to are still interested in showing up, and can they show up on this date? It obviously starts with scheduling. So that works around my schedule and kind of where it's not like where I'm in an off season of vacations or work or stuff like that, so that I can have my full attention towards the capture at least the week of. So it comes down to scheduling, then it's your location, and then it's how many people do we want to get involved? Is that nothing? Is that a lot of vendors because we want to bring the most communities together? Are we going to be able to communicate with that many people? Do I need extra personnel day of to coordinate? Michaela, going to do an awesome job tomorrow, I'm sure. And stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of personnel. And once you start inviting more people into the process, you become a manager. And that's no fun for me. I'm not a manager type. I'm a creative type. So I think more logistically than I feel like a decent amount of people, but that's because I've been forced into that corner just based off of the circumstances. So I would love to have less people because it's less people I have to manage and make sure are in cahoots and talk to people. But I can totally see a lot of that being taken by someone like a day of coordinator. From there, it's making sure that like the local area knows. Sometimes I don't want like 100 people showing up to Lancaster City and going to like the top of the Prinsky garage and like us not being allowed to be there. Like I try to scope out the areas or meet with the studio owners to get to know them if I don't know them. And yeah, so there's a lot of different communication factors. Then you have to do the marketing, which is my expertise, but the thing that I can keep up with the least because it's something that I need to keep the engine of the people going and the location going. But the marketing of it is always like something that you can feel better about, you can feel worse about based off of social media, and you can only do so much. But I try to promote it on Facebook. I'll make a Facebook event on our Silo page just so that the Facebook audience knows and that shows up for them when it's week of or day before, so that they get a reminder. I also put the stuff on Eventbrite, which I think is new as of like last year for us. But I've been seeing a lot of success in like just the last 2 days. We've had like 3 tickets bought. They're not like, there's no cost to these captures or anything, but you have to like get emails from people, but that's people that are just looking for events this weekend. And so Eventbrite has been great of like things to do in York, Lancaster, Harrisburg area. And that will show up because we're an event that's happening, and it only hits a small minority of people based off of like what their interests are. But you might see some people that are just looking for something fun to do and show up, and I love talking to those people. We had a few at Summer Capture that I was really excited to see, and a lot of them are like super curious and then get introduced to Silo from like a more like mainstream like version of us, and I feel like Silo is still a pretty niche community in terms of how many people we're reaching in the area. So to see people that have no idea or don't follow Silo on Instagram, it's weird because most of the people we know are from Instagram. So Eventbrite has been super cool. Love like getting that word out there that way, just because it's fun, and it's pretty comprehensive on like what you can do there for free. So love having that just as an extra marketing push. And then Instagram, of course, I discussed earlier, trying to put it out like 2 months ahead of time, especially with summer. I'll probably have to do a pretty early push in like April, May, so that people are ready when that comes around, or, make sure that they're home for this instead of going on a vacation. Not that I want people to skip out on a vacation, but if they're still in the planning, process of that, maybe we can sneak in there and make sure that they get to come and stuff like that. So it's super important for the summer ones. But yeah, so my overall thoughts for Spring Capture, I'm so excited. It's 5:18 p.m. right now, Friday, the 22nd. It's happening tomorrow, the 23rd at 4 p.m. And yeah, this is under 24 hours. And I'm looking forward to this one. I really am. And it's been a long journey with promoting it and everything like that. But this is me doing it solo. Been doing it solo for a year, but feel very confident about this one. And what is success? What is success for me is people showing up. And I love being able to see a poll of who plans on coming when I post that on the Instagram. And we had like 30 people say yes, 35 people say yes. And I know that that's only a small, I'd say measurably, that's probably like around half. I would gauge that at whatever the engagement is on social media to like a third to a half of the actual people showing up. It's always people that are like, bring other friends too. So you'll never see a realistic number there. But the fact that we had like 30 people say yes, and I was expecting like 45 or 50 is kind of what one's source kind of holds. So I'm super glad that we're going to be able to go out into the community. And that's what I always look forward to. I just feel like it's going to be a good time. I think this is the right amount of people for this space. I know that it's probably on the smaller side. And I know last time we were here, it was a smaller turnout of like 40 to 60 based off of the timing, the promotion of it. And I know me and Gavin were towards the burnout side of our creativity at the moment. So it was a great turnout for then. And I hope we can get a good turnout tomorrow. Like I said, it's not about the people though. It's about the impact you have on each of them. So being able to have a newspaper set from Roonrook, Sam, amazing. Obviously we worked with her a ton. And then Michaela again, same crew that we did Where the Wild Things Grow. Man, that's kind of a tongue twister. I can say it every time in text form, but that's tough. But yeah, amazing creative director team. Source is awesome. Emil is going to kill it. She has a hookup for us for disco balls. And so when we talk about mirrors or dreams and reflections, I think it's going to be so like ethereal and fun. I'm really looking forward to just that theme and what people interpret it as. Cause I know some people, I talked to this one woman today, and she said that she's going to be bringing like a sun and moon, like dress and like ensemble. And I'm just like, I love when people just take these ideas that like kind of come out of nowhere, but also make sense to us and like go full out on it. So we'll have disco balls, we'll have mirrors. We're going to do this really like earthy plant set, like burlap kind of feel. And just all this stuff is going to go so well. So I'm really looking forward to being able to just fully embrace all of that. So overall, like I was nervous earlier this week. I feel like I was nervous just because of those numbers. And I think I just, you have to get over those expectations. And once you do, you find yourself at like such a peaceful place, knowing that whatever happens at this event will happen. And I think, week of that kind of sets in because you feel like you're not going to change people's minds at that point. They have weekend plans, they have another event that they're going to try out and stuff like that. So being able to fully embrace that week of, hey, who's coming is coming, and you can try to change people's mind, maybe like more one-on-one, but being able to bring people together is not a persuasion, it's an invite. And so I really hope that tomorrow goes well, and I know it will. And I know I'm going to come back and sit in this exact chair in a week and tell you all about how good it is. So can't wait to see future Austin talk about his findings. It's going to be interesting. I'm really excited to look back as like in this podcast as like a diary of what goes through my mind before versus after. So see you soon. Welcome back to the Silo Podcast. This is the second half of our Spring Cap recap. Fun name, right? Thought of that on the spot, obviously. Where we discussed my before thoughts and now what happened afterwards. And I asked you guys some questions in the Discord and on Instagram, seeing what your experience was like, because there's a lot of things that went right and a lot of things that went wrong. And I wanted to talk honestly and openly about them here. So to start off, thank you so much for all who came. Let's just get into it. There's no holding back. I'm pretty sure on my last one, I recorded this on the Wednesday after the Spring Cap happened. So 4 days kind of brought my thoughts together, allowed the emotions that were super deep and super awesome for the day to kind of slow down. Immediately, I would want to maybe capitalize on that, but I wanted to have a more holistic view than what I would have gotten if I did it night after, day after, which I think I would have a very similar response, but I didn't want that to be the only response. So here I am, Wednesday, 4 days after, and here are my thoughts. So immediately I was like super nervous. I'll walk us through the day. It was just so good. Literally was texting all the homies, yo, here's when I'm like showing up. Here's when I'm getting everything ready. I had a timeline kind of built out for the day. Michaela and Sam came at like 12:30. So like huge ups to them for spending their whole day doing Spring Cap stuff, which is just insane. I can't ask any more from like such passionate and talented people. So I haven't seen what they like brought together or what their like sets were fully going to be. I've seen concepts of it. So when I walked in at 3 p.m., I was like, this is insane. I get there, they're having burritos. They worked super hard for the last 3 hours and they still needed some work to do. So we helped them. I also brought Caleb, who does sound production and stuff like that. He wanted to help set up. So I brought him and we got to work. After they were done eating, we helped set up the newspaper and that like earthy corner that was super cool from Michaela, and the disco balls were from Sapphire Road Weddings, which is so cool. I'm so glad that Emil was able to get in contact with them. So we set all of those up. They looked insane. I'm just in awe of what they are able to conceptualize in their head and then bring into reality, because it looks the exact same. So proud of them. And I know that so many people got like some amazing shots. I keep on saying so. That's not going to change throughout this podcast. So we had like an hour to go. I was just running around doing administrative stuff. We had posters that we put up with QR codes for the Discord and podcast and things like that, so people can know where they can get connected in Silo if it was their first time. I was definitely nervous. I was at peace. I was sweating, So maybe I wasn't at peace, sweating, getting everything ready, moving a whole ton. Little did I know how cold it was outside, but the biggest thing was that I was worried about rain, and that actually went away. So the day before, it looked like rain was going to stop on Saturday at like 5 p.m. So we were only going to be inside for like the first hour was my goal. And then day of came, it stopped raining at like 2 before I even got to head up to Source, and I was elated. I was like, man, things really worked out. Like, huge blessing that we were going to be able to explore the city and not be all cooped up inside, thinking whatever I said last podcast, where it was going to be like 40 to 60 people generously. Like, I had no predictions. And so I'm like, 40 people inside, that can work. I can make that work. 60 would have been tough, but here we are. We can do it. And when the rain stopped at 2, it was like the biggest amazement, like so thankful for that. And it was just, everything was panning out. All the posters were set up. I haven't forgotten anything. No one else forgotten anything. We actually had time to set up the disco ball set with the black background, the Mylar on the floor, and then the disco balls from Sapphire Road. We were hanging. We had a backdrop stand. Then we also had lighting for each of the sets, which I think came in really clutch because it was cloudy for a lot of the time. And I fully expected that. So having that lighting just gave us the extra punch. It also made us not be in the shadows, even though the beautiful natural light was still streaming in. It helped just lift the levels a little bit, made everyone not have to deal with probably as much green as they would have if we didn't have that. So yeah, it was just an amazing time. As soon as people started arriving, it was like, yo, so hype. A lot of the people that we knew from past captures came and they were first. A lot of new people came and they were first. I made sure that we had the sign-in sheets, which honestly, like, some of the coolest things was like having all of you guys sign up, and sign up is literally just so we can contact you if we haven't met you before. We're not putting on the email list or anything, but if we need to match models with photographers, we can try to get your name off of this, which is awesome. And I'm so glad, like, literally we had, I think, 82 people get signed up here, and we had a few friends on the yearbook, of course. We actually, because so many people were there, we had to sign on the yearbook as well, which is totally fine with me. If we ran out of space on these like extra long papers too, I was really surprised. But so the final number, I know a lot of people of you have been asking, the final number. How many people actually came to this event, Austin? You were thinking that it would only be 40, 45. How many people actually showed up? 82 people signed the sign-up sheet. So already doubled, but let alone the people that helped work it, helped show up, people that were too shy to put their names on it, some people that came and gone before we were able to give instructions, and people that just in passing didn't get to sign it. I know this is not an accurate representation of that, which means I'm even more excited to say that our total number was 95, which is tied for the same amount of people we had at last winter cap, which is insane. And I can't thank you enough for making out to this event. This is the second largest and same largest turnout as our largest event yet. I don't know how it happened. That's what I keep telling people. People ask, how was the event? How was it overall? And I just keep going back to the fact that 95 people showed up and we took head counts. Like, this is accurate, let alone just 85 like signatures for sure. That was the biggest shock to me. And because of that, we had literally no room. As you can see by some of the photos and videos that we took during the event, it was packed. I can't tell you the square footage, maybe 800 to 1,000, 1,200 sounds about right. But 90 people in that space. And some of them were outside and we went outside and stuff. But imagine 90 people in like the whole of the entirety of like your house, or your apartment. It's insanely packed. And that did contribute to one of the things that I'll talk about later, of just it being so packed, and some people were overstimulated and stuff like that. But we'll get into that in a little bit, because I do want to touch on that, and it's very valuable. But to be there is so cool. To walk you through the event in total, we like, I was letting people roam and chat, and, you know, some people were ready to get going on shoots and they don't know what to expect. So I have to frame it a little bit, and I'm not the best speaker. So being able to feel out the crowd is something I can do. But when it comes to the execution of that, I need to prepare. And Gavin used to give the best speeches, like so perfect, on par, so what people needed to hear in that crowd. And I'm forever living in his shadow when I do this, and not prepare stuff, because I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to feel the room, talk to as many people as I could in the beginning, get to know the temperature, and then come up with something that makes sense for the people that are in the room. And I think I achieved that. And so as the night went on, it was like maybe 30, 35 minutes. People were starting to get antsy, or like dying down conversation, because they wanted to shoot and didn't want to converse forever. And I totally get that. I was trying to just make it around to everyone. And so when that time came, I walked over to Katie, my wife, and she was like, come on, let's do this thing. Let's get this ball on the road. Like, so encouraging to me. And I was like, man, you're telling me this, and now I got to take the 5 minutes to actually get into like prep mode. So I was circling around, got a drink of water, and got ready, and I found a meal. I was actually trying to find a stool, like a stool that you would have on like a backdrop. And I was trying to just stand on the stool so I could get above everyone, so that we could all see me or know to get my attention. I was talking to Katie. I was like, do it go like 1, 2, 3 eyes on me, or clap once if you could hear? And I really didn't want to do that. That was funny. And so the stool, I was looking for that. And then Emil came up to me, the owner of the studio of Source, and was like, you know, we have a 12-foot ladder. Do you want to use that to like really get above everyone? I'm like, Emil, that's way too much attention on myself. Like, I can't do that much. It'd be such a spectacle, and it's so funny, but that's huge, and like, it would disrupt everything, and people would be quiet by the time I actually got up there. And so she went to the lounge, got the 12-foot ladder, and I helped her bring it out. And it was so funny. Just 12-foot ladder running through the crowd, setting it up straight in the middle of the studio. And she's like, I'm going to spot you. I'm like, okay, cool. I still hadn't prepared anything in my head. I get up on the ladder, and I'm like, sup, guys? So I didn't prepare anything, and I'm not good with words, so here we go. Basically just told people about Silo, who we are, what we're about, what the vision was for this event. And just to, I think in that moment too, as soon as I got to the top of the ladder, I was struck and like kind of taken aback by the actual sea of people that are congregating here and wanted to be here, and made an active choice to be there in that moment. And I knew something was going to happen, and for not having a speech, and then also having that kind of taken me back, it was tough to like find the words to describe anything that I was feeling up there. So it was very administrative, but I feel good about what I said, and I was so glad. One of the things that we do at our captures is either raise your hand if you're like a photographer or if you're a model, so that people know who you are and like who to get in contact with. If I was a model, I need to look for a photographer that might want to shoot with me. This time around, I wanted to see how many people were new. It seemed like I had a lot of new faces in the crowd, and I didn't know like fully what to do with that information. But I wanted people to understand that growth and people and the relationships are the whole currency of this community. And so when I asked people to raise their hand if they were new, I literally like saw a wave of people raise their hands, and it was half the room. It was literally half the room. So easily 40 or 45 people were new to this event, brought by a friend, came by themselves because they heard about it word of mouth or through Instagram, reaching new people. And that is the second thing that blew my mind, is that there were half of the population of this event were new people. And what that shows me is that it's still growing. And when I thought we would have lower numbers because of A, B, and C, turned out that we would have more people because of X, Y, Z. Like, things can change behind the scenes, and social media only shows you so much. And I think I might have explained in the last episode where we only had, I think it was like 20 or 30 people like RSVP. And I was like, okay, well, that's a good indicator around a half or 1/3 of the crowd that will show up. But that wasn't even a really good indicator. And only taking that, measurement once doesn't help with the inconsistencies of social media. But that just shows me so much happens behind the scenes and behind the digital doors and windows that we have in our lives in front of us at all times. To see growth and new people and determination to grow as a photographer, as an artist, as a model, as a brand. We had an amazing jewelry brand stop by. We had Evelyn helping with styling and the wardrobe of the clients. That's something we'd even touch on, not clients, participants, is that Evelyn was there with her wife, or with her husband, David, and he's a boss. But so cool to have Ramshackle in our location and have 2 racks to themselves and boots. But this is going to be a lot of rambling, as you can tell already. Like, Ramshackle absolutely killed it. I was so happy to have them there. I think that was the epitome of like the best working event relationship you can have, with how synergetic everything was. Like, that's the kind of thing you need. You need a vintage store that can sew into the models and get them fully decked out in amazing gear, also helping Ramshackle then as well. Another person I want to shout out is Michaela. She absolutely killed it on the day of coordinating, keeping things in line. She was also in my ear telling me like, hey, let's get this started at the beginning. I think we're at a good number to get started. And then throughout the night, she just connected so many people behind the scenes. I don't even know half the stuff that she did that didn't make it to me, because she was doing such a good job of getting things just done. And I can't thank Michaela and Ramshackle, Evelyn, David, Sam, Michaela, Emil, Stephanie from Filter Photo, who also helps co-own the space, came and shot behind the scenes photo. And I was totally not expecting that. And she killed it. And I just got the photos, I think 2 days ago. And they're some of the favorite photos that I have of myself and of the behind the scenes of these events, because these events, I'm often the behind the scenes guy. I'm also the guy that everyone wants to talk to because they know my face from the page. And so there's a fine line of where can I be? How do I budget my time at these events? And I was so thankful that Stephanie got that, because I was able to take a step off from behind the scenes photo and video. And while it may be sad that I don't have as much behind the scenes, I also know that like I was fully present. And so I wasn't working at all. I was talking to people. People were bringing things up to me that like needed adjusted, made it happen. But the end of the day, like I was just talking to the people that see me all the time. And now I get to sew into them by getting to know them and their faces and what they're about and their struggles and their wins and why they came and what their why is in general. And that's super special to me. And I can't look back on any of those moments and say that I messed up and I shouldn't have been with that person, because I should have been handling this situation. Like, these people were around me for a reason, and I needed to interact with them. I needed to be honest and real with them. And so that's what I did. I was honest and real with everyone that I met. And it was just so cool, because it was like at least one person from every group of 3 or 4 wanted to talk and get to know me and get to know what Silo is about. And I have like an interview scheduled up with someone just for them to get to know Silo better, for like a school project. And it's so cool that we can inspire people. And honestly, like, there's nothing special about Silo. The thing that's special about Silo is the people. And I have to do very little work for that special thing to appear. It takes courage to show up, but once they're there, the special thing has arrived, and that's you. The photographer that needs work, the model that needs modeling gigs. Like, you are the reason why this event succeeded, and what I would consider a success is, 4 people came and one of them were impacted, and we went above and beyond with that. And I've heard so many kind words of the event, and while it was really cold outside and a lot of people stayed inside, I think it still really worked out. That was one of the downsides, was definitely just it being cold. I tried to rally people. I said, yo guys, come on. I'm going to lead the charge. We're going to go outside. We're going to go to the river. Hey, we're going to go to the laundromat. We're going to go to the ice cream shop. I want you guys to get out there into the town. And it was just too cold for that for a lot of people. And I haven't realized that because I was inside sweating the entire time. But hearing that reality helped me understand that why people are all inside. And that another negative being not fully planning a backup for when our expectations get exceeded. Having 90 people in that space is probably not healthy, not super conducive to the best creative experience when you can only have like 1 or 2 models in frame at a time on like 3 or 4 different sets. I think that a positive that came out of it being packed made the community stronger, both in just seeing that many people together inspires people, but then also being forced to just talk to people and converse. And I know there's introverts exactly like me that were wallflowers, but I know that they got talked to by someone and wanted to be a part. And I know someone made their voices heard. And I know that is a super special thing, even if you didn't get to shoot as much as you want. So I definitely want to apologize for the crowdedness of it, because that was not expected at all. For those that are listening that were anxious and had to step out and take a breather for 10, 20, 30 minutes, totally understandable. That's not what our events are normally like. Usually we're in open air spots and stuff like that. But because of it being cold outside, I was just happy that it didn't rain, and looking at it as a positive. But I can see where the bottleneck of it being so cold that you can't shoot outside and still wanting to be at the event means 90 people in a space is not super comfortable. So that's something we learn for next time. And we see if these numbers keep where they are, that means we just need to keep booking larger spaces, or keeping it more intimate, ticketed, blah, blah, blah. I can't tell you what the future is. Captures will always be free, but looking at other ways to get people involved where they can make sure that they are, the main character of these shoots. I know that another mistake or con of this whole thing was that because there was only 1 or 2 models in frame at a time, there was lines. That's something that we never would have expected from 40 people, but there was lines to get in. I think that also meant those photographers that are a little bit more cautious or will take their time or wanted that personal connection with the models couldn't get it because there were 5 or 6 photographers getting different angles. And so controlling, where the model was looking was really challenging. There was also, you couldn't fully get in for your turn potentially if you were just wanting to let the photographers go who usually were up front anyway. So figuring out a way to filter people in, which naturally did happen, but I know that there could have been some people that were just a little frustrated that they couldn't get any one-on-one time or enough time with each set or model. But I think everyone got their turn, at least in each set, in front of each model that they wanted to. And hopefully we build a community and conversation where courage is encouraged, where you should be able to speak your mind, say like, hey, can I just get like 1 minute with this person before you switch out or something like that. And I think everyone was super kind. There was no complaints about that, but simply the fact that it was hard to get in when there was 6 or 7 people photographing one model is challenging. And there's no way around the fact that happened other than it did. And having more sets, which would have made the space smaller, possible. But yeah, I'm sorry for those that felt overwhelmed. But I'm really encouraged by the people that felt content with it. And I know that's a small minority, but that those people's feelings are super valid, and I want to make sure we're catering those events that way. One last thing before we get into like a quick Q&A that people asked us on Instagram and our Discord is that I've gotten so many comments from people saying how like inclusive this event was, and like, how do you make that happen? Like, Austin, Gavin, what do you do to make sure that all these people come? And we don't do anything. Like, there's no magic sauce, and I don't want, like, I don't know how to go about this topic fairly or anything. It's just, we exist for all people. We love all people. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your background is, what you've been through, where you're currently at. We just want you to be there and experience life in community and sharpen each other's skills together. And I think that speaks very broadly. You know, if you come at it with that approach, hopefully, no matter who you are, you accept that vision and want to walk towards that vision. And so I think that's how, there's no magic sauce, but I think that's how we do it. We just love all people. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're about or what your background is, or if you talk a lot or you don't talk at all. If you're there for the right reasons or if you're not right there for the right reasons. I think, if you're there for yourself and very selfishly, hey, as long as you're not doing anything wrong, you're not doing anything wrong to anyone else, like, I fully respect that you just need to get in and get out and do your work. The only thing that I said in the speech was that you have to just tag your people. That's like the one rule. Tag your people, tag the people that are in your photos, tag the people that took your photos, tag the people that of the dress you're wearing, tag the people that made the sets that you're in. That's my like only diehard rule that I could possibly get frustrated about at these events, is if I start seeing people's posts and they're not tagging, the model that they worked with. I think that's the only thing, and then that so far that has not happened. That so far everyone has been super respectful and loved on each other and given the respect that I ask of them and what they should be asking of me as well. Well, holding each other accountable on that is like a really key thing that I will not like budge on, is that when one person wins, we all win. So if you just keep tagging people, we all win and we all succeed and thrive based off of one person that gets a paid gig from having a portfolio piece from this event or something like that. So overall, the event went so well. Dude, I can't thank you guys enough. Like, how emotional I was on my like hour drive home from clearing up and just hearing all the positives, and getting to know everyone there. That was probably like the biggest thing. Like, I got to spend all of that event talking to the people that I care about most and in my community, and people that have shared interests and don't have shared interests. It was just super cool. I'm not a person that has major, like, I can't give a speech. I can't say much more than it was just so cool and so impactful to me that y'all came, made it a great event because you came to this event. By no means was it me or Gavin that put on a show and you enjoyed it and you clapped your hands and said, yay, and then you went home. This was an event highlighting you guys, and you guys showed up and showed out and made it possible. So thank you so much for doing that and creating a safe space for all sorts of people, whether it's something that you believe in or you don't believe in. like it was just so inclusive and so full of happiness. And there was just such an energy in the room that I can't explain, but it happened and it was there, and you were a part of this and you made a difference on that day. Spring Capture was possible because of you, the person that's listening to this, the person that showed up, the person that encouraged someone to come, but you couldn't come yourself, the person that was skeptical but showed up and had their mind change, a person that came that was in a rut and then came and your whole like creative vision just went wild and your imagination went crazy. Thank you for coming. And there's no easy way to transition, but we're going to do a quick Q&A on some of the things that you guys asked me. So let's see what we've got. So Kind Soul Matthew asked me, are you taking care of yourself after that? And to that, I would say yes. If you guys don't know, I work at a church. So I work 14 hours on Sundays. So Saturday night, I got home around like 10:30, went straight to sleep and had to wake up at 5:45 to go to my job, worked that for 14 hours. So there wasn't much break there, but I know I needed to get up the stories from the night. So I took it takes so long is what I realized. But from all of the footage and everything that you guys put on the stories, I waited till the next day because I knew I couldn't do it, day of, like night of. I would have spent too many hours saying thank you to all the people. So I waited the next day, spent like an hour 15 posting all the stories, saying thank you to everyone, sending out all the formalities that I needed to wrap up that chapter of Silo. And then Monday, I also had a long day. I actually spent that day at work for half the day. And then the second half of the day, I drove to the next location where we're going to have the next capture at, and spoke to a man that's going to host us in his space for the next capture, which I'm really excited about. Maybe by now, by this podcast, you might have heard about it, but if not, it's going to be sick. I am so looking forward to this next season of Silo. It's going to be insane. But I didn't really get to rest for the last 2 days after the capture. Wednesday came, I cleaned our house deep cleaned the room and the house. And after that, I crashed. So did that and was able to finally rest after the capture. And I think what I've learned is that after those tentpole events that we have, I need to take a week off of not thinking about anything. My responsibilities after the event that I set for myself are to make sure that I'm posting the stories and the posts that you guys are putting out about Spring Cap, make sure I'm highlighting the awesome work that went on, and not to miss out on the opportunity to lift people up in that way. And the second responsibility is to make a response post about it. So I'm recording this podcast. Will just be a long thank you, but I always make sure that, I acknowledge what happened and reflect on the reflections and dreams that happened throughout the event, and if my vision was fully realized or not. So you guys should have seen that by now, by the time this is live. And then from there, I'm definitely gonna kind of go off the grid a little bit, take a little break. It's a lot of work to make these captures happen. I would say, on a normal week, I'm working 10 extra hours on Silo stuff a week. A lot of the times it's more with the different productions and photo shoots that I do to keep Silo afloat. It's not cheap. It's not easy work. It's a lot of time. And a lot of that time is invested in relationships and conversations that I have with people. So it's not all terrible work. Some of the stuff that just needs to happen. Other times it's a privilege to be able to talk to people. So I'm finally in rest mode. This is one of the last things I need to tick off my checklist before I can fully rest. But I'm still soaking up the amazing community and what occurred at this event. Another person asked, how does it feel to be on such an iconic photo of Austin on the ladder? And apparently that's going to be the photo of the year. I had some people in the Discord say that is an iconic photo that I'll never be able to live down. And I think I agree. How can I top that? I have to get a 13-foot ladder or something now. But honestly, the photos that Stephanie took of me, and I'm sure other people did that they're going to send eventually, of me on the ladder was so funny just to see. And I think it's a great reflection for me and a very personal image, because I'm the one that lives it, but I don't get to see like how anyone else views it. So to see those photos and the stories that people posted of me on the ladder was super funny and super cool. Another person asks, how could it have been better? And to that I respond, temperature, so we can spread out. That way, I think a lot of the anxieties would have been removed from situation. Last one, what is something that I wish had happened? And I don't know if I can answer that, because I think everything that happened was meant to be. I think the connections that were made were meant to be that night. I think asking any more from both the situation, the encounters, the space, the people, would kind of undermine what would happen. I know that's not the intention of the question, but asking any more would be, for me, just like taking away from what already existed. And what already existed was probably the best version of it could ever be. Which I find so, it puts everything in perspective with how I've been feeling and worrisome and anxious about the whole event. I think seeing the final product and it in the past and seeing hindsight allows me to realize that everything happened for a reason, and my stresses happened for a reason, because I was worried about a certain group of people that are not usually represented, or I'm thinking about the anxious person, which is myself, or the socially awkward person, which is myself, that comes to these events, and making sure that they had a place and a home and a space to, really like fall back to. And so if there's any way that I have not connected with you and can provide a space for you or your needs at these captures or at any silo event or in the community itself, like, let me know, so that I can be aware of your perspective and make it better. But that's all, y'all. Well, thank you. Well, that's all, y'all. Thank you for listening to this podcast. It's been unreal kind of unpacking the captures, and I'm sure so many people have different thoughts, and I'd love to amplify those voices even more, just that it's not just me speaking like positivity over the events, which is helpful, but I'm not trying to toot my own horn by making a podcast about this and the accomplishments that I had. Because truly it's me finding myself and my creativity in these spots, and there's no way that I have arrived or even begin to start climbing. I'm still at like the 10-foot mark on the 10-foot mark at the like 10,000 foot mountain that is ahead of me. And I'm just so lucky and blessed to be able to surround myself with those kinds of people. And I know it takes advice and mentorship and courage to do it myself and to bring those life-giving words into my life to start. But to see it flourish and to realize that this happened, and, there are people that rally behind Silo. It's something that like I still often forget every day. I'm like, there are people that like ride or die Silo sometimes. And I think that's so hard to wrap my head around. So forever thankful for you, especially you listening, you taking the time to get to this point of the podcast and listen to all my ramblings, because I'm sure it's a lot. But really hopeful for this next season of life. This next season of the Silo podcast is about to be unreal. We're bringing back the interviews. We're also bringing back Gavin. He'll be on episodes. He'll be interviewing people. He'll be doing interviews with me. And we're just going to continue this momentum that we've got. I literally have like 15 names for the podcasts for this season, and I got to figure out how I can schedule them all. So can't wait. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you, and take it easy.